Alright, so let's get started. So I'm going to use VITE to install the React app. So what we're going to do, I have got my terminal open. You can use your VS Code. So I'm going to do npm create VITE at latest. And then it's going to ask me to name my project. We're going to name it TS Expert Movies. You can name whatever you want to name your project. And obviously we want to do a React project with the first one TypeScript. And now we can just cd into TS Expert Movies, and over here we just need to follow this instruction. We can install npm install to install all the dependencies. So we will wait for it to install. Okay, so the React template has been installed. We want to check it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it in the VS Code. So here we are, and now in this project what we're going to do is, first thing, I'm going to install Tailwind CSS. So because we are doing this project with Tailwind CSS, so I'm not using style component or anything. We'll just use Tailwind CSS for styling in this app. And now we want to go to Chrome, so you can see how we're going to install the Tailwind CSS. So I'm in the Tailwind CSS. We're going to go get started, and since we're using a framework, we're going to go to this framework guide. We are using VITE. We have already done this, so we need to just copy this npm install Tailwind Postgres. You can just copy both of these commands. We'll just do one by one. So I'm going to do the first one just in case we hit any errors. So while that one is being installed, I'm going to copy this command and Control V. Done. So we have got a tailwind config.js file here. Yes, we do. And let's go back to the Chrome, and we need to do this. So I'm just going to copy this whole file. This is a tailwind.config.js. So in this file, I'm just going to Control A, Control V everything, so we don't miss anything. And the last thing we need is index.css. We're going to copy this whole thing, go to our index.css file here. I'm actually going to Control A everything and do this here. So we have got that. Now we can start running the app. So npm run dev, that's how we run the VITE app. Clear the terminal, npm run dev. Let's open it in the localhost. So right now, as you can see, because I have deleted my index.css file, so the styling is all over the place. So the next thing we're going to want to do is get rid of the defaults, just like this public VITE logo. We don't need this. You can actually delete the public folder. In assets, we don't need this. We don't need VITE env.ts file, and we need to remove this because we have removed, we actually need to delete app.css file as well, and app.css from here. So these are the imports that we deleted, so we don't need them, and we can now get rid of them. And we will clear our app just like this. So we do not need anything here. We got everything sorted. Let's see how it looks like. Now we got a blank page, so I'm gonna keep it open like this. Now that we have that installed, let me just close this terminal. So now we have our app installed, and now we can start moving on to the next part, which is creating our components and pages. So the next thing we should do is, we actually need one more thing. I will show you what it is, but first we want to check if our Tailwind CSS has been installed. So I'm going to write an h1 tag here to check if the Tailwind CSS is working, and we will just say hello TS Expert family, and the text is by default is black. Let's see, we will provide it a Tailwind CSS class name. Oh my bad, sorry. Class name, let's say text 3xl, and we want to change the text to orange 500. Yuppie. So the Tailwind CSS is working perfectly fine. Let's see what these errors are. We can refresh the page, no console error. So yeah, the Tailwind CSS is working. So I want to show you one thing. Like if we go into our main.tsx, and you can see that import index.css file throwing a warning that it cannot find a module index or its corresponding time declaration. So in TypeScript we need to create the module for the imports, like for even for our images like JPEG, GIF or PNG, whatever. For same for the CSS file. So what we're gonna do is in the we're gonna create a new folder here in the source. I'm gonna name it modules. Inside this I'm gonna create a file called modules.d.ts, and right now we just want to paste this here. So declare module and CSS. So if we do that and if we go back to main, as you can see, that is gone. So if I undo that, you can see it came back again, the warning is back again. Declare module.css. This is the same thing we're gonna do when we're gonna import our image. So we're gonna do this and we're gonna do PNG for image like this, but that comes later, so I will show you how to do that as well. So right now we're just gonna stick with one CSS, and that's done. Let's move on to the next part, which will be creating our project structure. So I'm gonna hide the terminal and get back to the source where we have asset folder and module folder. Here we're gonna create our new folder and I'm gonna name it components, and we need another folder for pages. So assets we already got, and we got modules, so that these are the things we needed. Inside the pages folder, in the component folder, we're gonna create a new file and name it navbar.tsx. we're gonna do React arrow function component export, enter. So if you don't know what it is, it's an extension from VS Code. It's called React snippets. So it's these ones, actually it's this one, ES7 React snippets. So we got a default React component here, and inside our pages we're gonna create 3 pages, new file which will be home.tsx, one more file movies.tsx, and one last file which will be TV shows.tsx. all of these files I'm going to do RAFC, React arrow function component export. So now that we have that, now we've got our pages here, and in order to browse through the pages in React we need React Router. So we need to install React Router, and I'm gonna split the terminal since one side I'm running the app. So we're gonna do npm install React Router DOM. As usual, we want to check if it's been installed in our package.json. So if you go to the dependencies, we have React Router DOM. Yes, we have that. We gonna come back to our main.tsx. Here we're gonna wrap this whole app strict mode inside browser router in order to use the route functionality, use the React Router inside the app. So I'm gonna import browser router from React Router DOM, and then we can copy this and simply we can wrap this whole thing inside this like that. So now we have a route provided to the whole app. The next thing is we're gonna go to app.tsx. here we have h1. I'm gonna actually remove that, and we're gonna call our all 3 pages here. So first thing, actually we're gonna call navbar all the way up here. It's not showing up here, so I'm gonna import navbar from navbar, and then we're gonna do home. If I press enter, it automatically imports for me, so just to speed up things. But if you want, you can manually movies, that's also automatically imported. And last we need TV shows. Close these. So we have got navbar, home, movies, TV shows. So as you can see, navbar, home, movies, TV show. So this is not rendering from here, so all these text inside this is being rendered from home, movies, text. So what you're seeing on Google is this and this. and we have a comma somewhere, so we need to find that. Maybe in main.tsx. Yes, we have a comma here. It's gone. And now to provide routes between these pages, we need to go back to app.tsx, and here we gonna actually import it all the way top, so my component import stays together. Import routes from React Router down, and we need route. So one is routes, one is route, and we are gonna wrap this inside routes. That's done. And each of these component now gonna have an route for itself. So let's do this. Bring a route. Since it's a self-closing tag, so we need it inside there. So this take two props, which is path. So for home we have a default, and the second one is element. Element would be, can you guess what would be the element? Element would be our page, our component that we are routing it to. So that's done. I'm gonna do it twice and just change it around. So movies, and we want to change the routes to movies, TV shows. If you go back now we can only see navbar and home. That's gone. So how we gonna go to home now? If I do, to movies, I can do /movies. I've got navbar and movies. Reason why I'm seeing navbar all the way up there, because navbar is our component that's been rendered default within outside the route. So we always want to see our navbar on each page. So I'm keeping it up there. Navbars, TV shows. So you can see now we have different pages. So that's done. The next thing we need is we will create a file inside modules. I'm gonna name it API links.ts, because obviously we are creating a movies app, and all the data that we are fetching is coming from an API. So I'm just going to store all the API endpoints in this file. First of all, we need an API key. So I have this key. You can use my API key if you want to, or you can just get your own from TMDB database. But why would you want to waste your time there? I'm giving you the API key. The link is in the description. So we're going to do const API key is, so command V, but this needs to be inside quotation because it's a string. API key is a string, and we need const base URL where this API key will be provided. So that base URL will be https /API dot the movie database db.org/3. So what's actually happening here? This is the base URL that we are fetching the information from. In order to fetch the information from this base URL, we need an API key. So what it does is does this, and then we can write movie. Actually we have movie, and then we write whatever endpoint we want to fetch, like popular movies or now playing movies, maybe now playing. And then after that we provide a question mark and API underscore key equal to, and then this API key goes here. That's how the website, that movie database TMDB website, will allow you to fetch all the information, all the JSON data from there if we have this API key. Otherwise it wouldn't work. So what I'm doing here is, instead of doing this, I'm providing it into the URL. I'm actually storing the API key in the variable API key and the base URL in the variable base URL. So you know what happening. So we leave this one as it is here. Now we will create some movies endpoints to fetch information. So first one is const popular. We want to fetch popular movies. Obviously I'm going to use template literal here. So instead of providing this whole URL, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide it the base URL, right? And after that, as I told you here, we could use a slash and then movie and popular. So what we're going to do, we're going to use a slash here. We are fetching movie. If we were fetching TV, then we will do TV here. So movie slash popular, and then we need an API key, which will be, rather than pasting this long API key here, what I will do is pass that API key variable here. So now when I call this, when I use the Axios or fetch function and pass this URL there, I don't have to pass the whole URL there. I'll just pass popular to it, so I will know what I'm trying to do soon. So I'm actually gonna export it, even this, because we're gonna need this in other component as well, and we will use Axios to fetch the information. So bring up your terminal, do npm install Axios. That's it, Axios is installed. You can double check it in package.json, it's here. After installing the Axios, we're gonna import Axios from Axios, and in here we are gonna do is we're gonna create a asynchronous function here, fetch data async. It's an asynchronous arrow function, and we're gonna use try and catch to catch any error while fetching. So I'm gonna create a variable here, results, and we're gonna await the results using Axios.get method. And instead of passing this a full API endpoint, we have done it here. So we have export const popular, so we can call this inside Axios.get instead of passing it the whole this link and the API key. So we can do popular. We can actually import popular here, import popular from modules.api link, and then pass it here as an API endpoint link. And then we create another variable, const all results await. We're going to use this variable here, result.data, and we can log it to the console, all results. Then here we can catch any error if the request is not successful, so we will know what sort of error we are getting. So we can write console.log error fetching data and pass it that error here. Now we have created this function. Now we need to run this function. So in React, when we want to handle the side effects, we need use effect hook. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna use react.use effect, and inside this I'm gonna pass fetch data. So I'm gonna make sure every time the components reload it renders. So with use effect this is gonna call, and let's go back to console. I can already see result. I'm gonna reload the page. Boom, here we have, guys. So we are getting the results from API. As you can see, we have got an array of 20 elements. Obviously whenever you're fetching data from an endpoint, by default you get 20 elements if it's an array. And we got the first one is we have a backdrop path, we have genres, ID, original language, original title. So we have the first movie here, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and an overview about it, popularity, everything. So these are the links that we're gonna fetch from the API data. So yeah, that's pretty good. Our API links working. So now we're gonna paste some more API link in here, which I'm not gonna type, so I'm just gonna put it in the description. So there's a link in the description for Google Drive which has all the API keys, all the API endpoints. So just click on that one and go from there. So these are the endpoint that we are actually gonna use. We are not using these now, but yeah, we're not gonna use that. So yeah, so these are the one we are using. And instead of popular, we can change it to any link and we will fetch that information. So if you want it for TV, I will show you how we can do that. So let's do popular shows instead of popular movies. So you can see movie and TV. This is what it changes. So navbar popular shows, popular shows. Now we're going to reload it, and now we will have an array of popular show. I can just tell the first one we have Squid Game, which is the season 2. I think that's why it's popular right now. That's it for the first part, guys. I will catch you back in the next one, where we are going to create our UI, and then we will display our data to the users. We will actually start off with the navbar first, so we will create the navbar, we'll create the whole page, and yeah, that's enough for